It's time to look at healthcare. We have hospitals that do a good job of fixing us up, but sometimes there's collateral damage, I don't know if you want to call it that, related to billing and things like that. And a recent study has found that nearly two-thirds of hospital patients give the nation's top hospitals mediocre to poor ratings on online reviews. To help us sort through that is Harman King, who's the CEO of Vanguard Communications, a healthcare consulting firm. Ron, where did these online reviews come from? Who were these people, and how many people were weighing in on this discussion?
Well, good morning. Great to be with you. These people are presumably ordinary hospital patients. We looked at Yelp, the website Yelp.com, which, as you know, is a business review site where people can review all kinds of businesses, including doctors and hospitals. And we looked at nearly 2,700 reviews of the top 20 hospitals as ranked by the magazine U.S. News and World Report. And 62.7% of the reviews on Yelp of these top 20 hospitals gave the hospitals 1 to 3 stars.
And what specifically, maybe, or can you dig deeper, what is it that they're upset about, or why the poor reviews in that regard?
Well, by and large, it's not the quality of doctoring they're getting. 84% of these complaints were really customer service issues, and they range from everything from inconvenient parking and access to the hospital, unable to find their way through the hospital, poor reception. Billing is a huge issue, as you can imagine, with hospitals. People complained about not getting their call button answered promptly. It's all these things that we hope are standard services in hospitals. On average, the top 20 hospitals, by the way, earned an average rating of 3.2 out of 5 stars. Now, these hospitals' rankings are determined by polling doctors in 16 different specialty areas, and I want to salute the magazine for doing this public service, because that is hard for us as consumers to know how good our doctors are. What's much more visible, obviously, is how we're treated in a more ordinary customer service sense.
Right, and that sort of that's not unique to hospitals, I suppose. So what is it that they can do to get better?
Well, you're absolutely right. It's not unique to hospitals. My firm works primarily with academic and private medical practices, and small doctors' offices and clinics struggle often in the same way. I think what hospitals can do, some of them are doing quite well, and one of them is there in Cleveland. Cleveland Clinic has taken great strides in improving customer service, and this is becoming an increased focus in healthcare. It's what they call the patient experience. But I think it's been a secondary concern to healthcare providers in general to really take care of the customer holistically, not just as a patient who needs health care, but as a person who needs human care as well. They do call it health care, by the way, and I think care sometimes is missing from this world.
Ron, is it due in part to hospitals facing financial and regulatory pressures, or no?
Well, I'm sure that's a factor. I believe really it's more an issue of oversight. I think we've been so focused in the healthcare world at doing good medicine that we forget that people need some basic things and needs taken care of. So again, I hope this is a trend that's going to reverse in hospitals and everyone in the healthcare world. We'll start thinking more about the true patient experience from end to end. In our research, what we find is that it's the people around the doctors who often need the help and the resources to do a better job of supporting patients. The doctors themselves generally get good reviews. Patients love doctors, and they say that on social media.
Of course, with this situation with healthcare, it all becomes sort of there's a triangle that I've discovered recently. Have had issues, or I should say, had experience with hospitals. You've got not only the hospitals, you sort of have like your insurance company, and then yourself, and you're trying to connect the dots. And sometimes, you're making calls, trying to make sure everything's flowing as you expected, as opposed to just being sort of a bystander in this whole process.
We have one of the most dysfunctional health systems you could imagine in the world, don't we? I completely agree with that. And one of my pieces of personal advice is, as a healthcare consumer, you need to fight for your rights. And this is especially true in billing, and even more so if you are paying out of pocket for your own health care. Hospitals are remarkably flexible and negotiable in some of the charges they make, but even if you're an insured patient, you want to push back if you think you've been unfairly charged. And this is a huge, huge problem in hospitals. We see it over and over again as a repeated pattern.
So related to this survey and how you find this out, what then is the hospital looking at this? Are you bringing it to their attention?
No, we don't. We don't really work with hospitals. We hope, of course, that they will. Some of them, the decision makers in important places, obviously, will hear of some of this. This is not necessarily a crusade for us to take directly to the hospitals. We hope that consumers, and there are 320 plus million of us here in the U.S. who, at one point in our lives, will each need hospitalization and health care. We hope to alert more people to the problems, to better arm them and equip them. And that's another point I'd like to make. The best patient is a well-informed patient. The Internet is a marvelous thing now for telling you about not only health conditions and possible treatments, but also where to go to get your best care and their best customer service, thanks to social media.
Well, that related to that, and also I guess with technology, you're allowed to get reminders that you got an appointment, or there's ways to get a hold of people that are not just sort of waiting on a phone. You can sometimes get emails and communicate that way. So in one sense, we do have sort of a better channels. I guess is just to navigate through that. Where can people find out more about some of the things, the survey, or maybe what they need to know related to this hospital care?
Well, we do have some information for consumers on our website. It's at vanguardcommunications.net. Vanguard has a U in it. Communications is plural.net. And if you add a slash in tips-hospital-patients, you can get some tips on how to prepare yourself for a hospital stay.
Ron Harman from the Vanguard Communications CEO, thanks for sharing your time this morning and getting some information out. Appreciate it.
Wonderful spending time with you. Go Browns. Congratulations on a perfect season.
Thank you. Now I need to get to the hospital quickly. I'm in pain, Craig.